Hey YouTube, how is it going? I hope all is well. So we have finally gotten to the last video of this build series, at least for the building half of it. I'm going to be a little loose on this one just because, but it's time for some celebratory drink to start us off. So let's get rolling with that. So today we're kind of picking up where we left off the other day with our live. We're doing some Maker's Mark cask strength because that's what we deserve in this world. Oh, boy. Oh, this one's got a different top on it than the other one. The other one had a cork top. This one apparently has a screw top. Kind of takes some of the fun out of it. But whatever. So, cheers to that. Oh, that's so good. So, yes, I have been a very, very busy boy. I'm just going to kind of lead you in a little bit. But a lot's been going on, and I'm finally done with all of my, what would you call it, contractual obligations, I guess, if you will. I've only got one more show that I'm doing as of right now for this year, and it's a pretty small one, and it's coming up, I think, in a couple months. So I'm free to go for a while. So here pretty quick, we're going to start ramping up on the new high gain build. I also have enough stuff to do one more other build. It's another low watt amp, but we'll go on that. There is a game in this video, so do be prepared for that as well. I will explain more on that later. But yeah, no, it's been fun. A little bit of trial and tribulations with this particular. The last video has been 2 months almost in the making, realistically speaking, and there's been some ups and downs with it. But I guess let's just show you a picture of the of the amp. Gotcha. I was watching something earlier today, and it just reminded me of a cat's butt, like, staring you right in the face. So I just decided I'd throw that in there. So yeah, let's actually take a look at the amp for real this time. Ooh, you just missed the thing. Don't worry, it'll wrap back around. We'll go through this at least a time or two. So yeah, it came out really nice. I'm not a super duper great photographer, so I just took some pictures with my phone and tried to make it look somewhat interesting. I used the photo thing to make the back look a little blurry and stuff like that, but you kind of get the point. So yeah, the contrast came out really good. I'm really happy with how it contrasts. That green and the brown leather just really, I kind of like that. I think I'll keep this color in my repertoire. I never thought in a million years I would go with green, but here we are. So yeah, she is finally done. A beautiful, beautiful amp. I don't know if I had the lights on in this other shot. I can't remember. No. Well, yeah, no, I actually did have the lights on. You can just kind of see it in there. So, in either case, enough of that. Let's go back to me. So, yeah, just the last couple weeks have been kind of fighting with that to get it done. It's like one of those things where you start kind of rushing things along a little bit, and when you start trying to hurry up a little bit too much, like, things don't always go to plan. And then, of course, with work's been busy. I had other stuff going on. So it's like one of those things where I kind of really needed to have this thing done and get all my other obligations out of the way so I could just slow down like I'm doing now and just relax. So I want to say thank you for all of those of you who have, followed along with this little project as long as you have. Let me tell you, I think it'll be worth it for whoever wins the amp. It sounds really, really cool. I have never owned a 5E3, so I don't really know what a 5E3 sounds like. Based on what I've heard in other videos, this one ought to suit just about anybody who's into that kind of sound. Dare I say, it actually holds together pretty well. It's got a little bit larger of a clean range, if you will, but it still does that 5E3 thing. And as I mentioned, we will do a sound video later on. But for now, let's actually look at the build process. So bear with me while we go through this.
either going to go really well or really bad. I'm not sure which one yet.
So I just kind of picked up where we left off at after the last build video. So this is the thing I did immediately after that last video. I started getting just this kind of stuff done here. So, yeah, fun stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, that was quick.
All right.
Less than 30 seconds. I'll take it.
Right?
All right, here goes another nothing.
All right.
So, this is literally just going to cut out a box, but let's see how it goes.
I'm not going to torture you with it. It screams for a few minutes. I'm actually kind of explaining it a little bit here in the video, but it's obnoxious. More or less, I just take the stock setting from whatever my, CNC software spits out, and I can modify the speeds a little bit, but I haven't really worked with this particular material all that much, so I don't know how fast I can really go with it yet. And I didn't want to mess with it while it was in the middle of doing it. With wood, I don't worry about it because I know exactly what it'll do. But in either case, normally I speed it up. This is pretty slow. I think this is like 100 inches per minute or something like that. I usually run around 150 inches per minute. And that's not fast, but it's not slow either. I don't know. So one way to know that you can go faster with the CNC machine, for those of you who don't know, is generally if it's screaming, it means that you can either go faster or you need to slow the bit down. In my case, I just needed to go faster. Another thing about this one here is that I didn't do my math very well. I wanted to make sure I cut all the way through the material when I did this one, but I went like an extra 100th of an inch too much, and it cut into my baseboard a little bit more than I wanted it to. But it is what it is. You get one shot. You don't know. And so, anyway,
All done.
yay.
And after it took about 15 minutes from start to finish to get to this.
So that's sanding it
never
down
mind
and making it look ready to be put in here.
My finger trying to hold this thing together, but it's a little bit brighter on the ends because that's where the LEDs are at, and it will not look like that once this thing is lit up properly. I still have the plastic on there too, the protective plastic, so that will come off and you won't really notice it that much. So yeah, we're cruising right along with this guy. So anyway, we'll see you in the next segment.
So just to kind of load you up on that a little bit, I was trying to go with a fixed brightness on this amp. I didn't want to have a remote control or some other button that you could use to adjust the lighting level. I was able to figure that out, spoiler alert.
I just had to stop for a second. It just dawned on me that we are starting to have the first signs of a true amp being built here. I'm getting ready to CNC out the veneer for inside. I've got those pieces kind of more or less ready to go, but as I was pushing this away, it kind of dawned on me. It's like we are pretty much ready to see the birth of this thing, realistically. So there it is. It's coming together. The veneers will be cut today. I will have those ready to be put in here. I will drill those today. And once all those are drilled, in theory, I should be able to put this thing together and actually pretty much call it complete for the most part. There's just a couple of little baby steps, more or less like the finishing of the wood and some glue up and stuff like that. But we're getting so close.
So close, but yet so far. At this point, this was literally like 3 weeks, almost a month ago. Like at this point right here, it was maddening.
All right, we're going to try this again for a second time. The first time didn't go so well. By the way, you do need to manage where your extractors
I was extremely angry.
Rotated around, but
I did crash the machine.
Just wide enough that it's right about at the limitations of my machine. I got about an actual 28 by 28 work area out of a 36 by 36 machine. Well, I didn't think about it at the time, and I had it twisted in, and it got to here, and it crashed into the side of the machine, which then promptly destroyed the beautiful chunk of wood I had underneath there.
Oh boy, did it. I might be able to figure out a way to make it work, but
probably would have been fun to see. But there is that. Maybe I got a video. I'll have to double check. We'll see. If I have a crash video, I'll get it. I don't remember taking one.
I don't have one.
In either case, I was very upset when it happened. So I hate ruining beautiful chunks of wood. I have yet another beautiful chunk of wood, so we're gonna try this again for the second time. This should only take a few minutes to run, but
You know how you done it right?
this time,
You've done it
I don't have much
twice.
to worry about. I didn't put the extractor on though, so it's just gonna be a little noisy and messy.
And it is a little noisy. You could actually hear and see right there, I sped up the machine. So that's me ramping it up to about 150 inches a minute. Thereabouts, anyway. This actually came out really good. I ended up biffing it a little bit later, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is sometimes. So ultimately what had happened, well, we'll talk about it a little bit later. How's that? We'll just leave it at that. I don't know that we need to go through this whole thing, to be honest. You kind of get the idea. So I'm just going to jump ahead there. See if I can jump to the part where it would have messed up. So I got through this piece just fine, right? And then so it finished here, and then it went to cut out this piece, and it got to, let's see here. Yeah, right there, and it freaking bopped. And then it ended up cutting a line right through there or something like that. So angering. But that is how it goes sometimes.
And this is what I'm talking about with just a paper thin
So
layer there. You can see it's just this paper thin thing, and I can go through it with like a Japan saw or whatever, Japanese style saw, but you can see it's just this paper thin thing, but I like that because it just makes it a little bit easier to deal with. And then what I'll go through with is a chisel, and I'll square out the corners. And what's nice about doing it the way I did it is that I can actually chop that down little by little to make the fit for the face plate like exactly as tight as I need. But yeah, she's gonna be beaut.
So yeah, she did come out really good.
All right, and after just a few minutes of filing and just a quick once over with the sander to kind of just smooth it out, this is what you're left with. And you can kind of see what the plan is here, is to make it look like it's one contiguous piece. So obviously inside of the amp, it's gonna go like that.
I want to try to find a way to refine this a little bit more. I mean, it works well like this, but when you lay it out, obviously it looks better. The only way to get it any closer is to use a thinner bit. And I have a 16th inch bit, but I don't know if that's, I don't know. I got to look into that a little bit more.
Try to make it look like it's one contiguous piece. So the mirror will be here, and what's cool about it is it's going to take this and it's going to double it over. So what you're going to see is this ginormous like looking, I don't know, it looks so cool when you do it that way. So that's kind of the idea behind the mirror, and why I like using at least walnut, any kind of curled or, you know, figured wood inside just pops. Especially
it does,
with the mirror,
let me tell you.
Lighting. So we'll see you in the next segment. All right. And just earlier in the, like yesterday or whatnot, I drilled all these holes in the bars and, you know, the fascia pieces while I was waiting for the wood to come in. Hand drilled and hand countersunk each and every single one of these holes. And it was done in such a way that every single one of them was fit by hand, if you'd focus, to be flush like that. Like every single hole I went through one by one and hand fit each one of them to countersink flush with that screw. So
it took a couple hours, let me tell you. It was not quick.
The screws be flush with the face of that thing. A little bit of beautification left to go. I gave it a quick scuff over just to make it look pretty, but I still have to do the side pieces. I just ran out of time. But just to clarify a few things, the amount of energy that goes into just the cabinet alone, right, is astronomical. But I want you to understand that the amount of energy that goes into this has also gone into the making of the amp. Now, the amp is the easy part for me because it's the part I'm actually good at. That's the part I understand. I can wrap my head around a bit. It's just the easiest part to engineer. This part here is very, very difficult because I am really trying to make an heirloom piece. It's more of a furniture piece, I guess, if you will. Dare I say it's not really meant to be tour grade, although
I really try to make it be, though.
I make these things to be a lifelong product, but it's probably not something that you're gonna go on a tour with, right? but it's meant to be an heirloom piece, something you pass down to your kids, your grandchildren, etc., etc. This is meant to be a lifelong product.
That
Period.
is no joke.
And a big part of why I put so much energy into the cabinetry is because to me that's like the complete package. It's just not enough to have a good sounding amp. There's a lot of great sounding amps. There's a lot of good well built amps. But there's not that many that go to this extreme. And that's
none that I know of.
to try to make a product that is holistically built to the standard. So in either case, I just wanted to get that out there. Whoever gets this thing is going to be super duper stoked, and I can't wait until you get to put it in your hands and play it. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But in either case, we'll see you in the next segment. All right, so we finally kind of got everything sort of ready to put together at this point. It is not actually put together, but you can see the mirror in the back there and how it kind of all fits together. Obviously nothing is screwed in and all that fun jazz, but it just gives you an idea of what's going on. It's obviously upside down as well, but so far the fitment side of things was looking good. I have a little bit of an heirloom fit here. I'm a little disappointed, unfortunately. The other material that I had originally for this was ever so slightly thicker than the aluminum, and it would have been like totally flush. This is 1/4 inch bar, so it's easy to kind of sand it down, but it's kind of going the other way this time, where there's a little bit, it's like a minute, like 32nd inch of a lip, 30 seconds of an inch lip from the aluminum to the wood, which is actually not a bad thing because it just makes it so it's an actual blind edge, which is kind of what I was going for anyway. But I prefer heirloom fits, so you can kind of see where the seams are and it's rounded over a little bit. That's a me thing though, but I can't, beggars can't be choosers and stuff like that, and it's extremely difficult to get two different types of material to be exactly the same, I guess.
And I'm going to pause it right there. We're in probably just about halfway into this video, so this is time to a good place to stop and put some groundwork in. So we do have one game left, and I'm gonna hold it here, right? So you're not gonna see my hands, but the game is gonna be simple. It's really gonna be simple, and I'm gonna tell you what. I'm not gonna tell you what the phrase is, but there is a phrase that is pretty common throughout this whole video. You'll hear it several times. Basically, all you have to do is go into the comment section of this video and quote that phrase. I'm not going to tell you what it is because there's a couple of them that I actually say quite a few times. But it's just to see if you're paying attention to me at all. So, here's the other thing about the game. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Nobody's going to know what it is. You're just going to get points. You're blind. You're flying blind. I know what the phrase is that I intend for the winning, point to be. But go ahead and say what you think it is. Put quotations. Now, here's the other thing. You only get one shot. Okay? So, if you post 5 times 5 different things, whatever they might be, I'm going to take the first post that you post. All right? So make sure that your post counts. This one's kind of a flying blind bit. This one's just a, what would Luke think or what would Luke say type of deal. So this is the last opportunity to gain any points to win this amp. Okay? I haven't really gone through all the other stuff yet, but this one I'm trying to make a little bit simpler. I am going to leave this game open until the day I do the actual, well, not until the day I do the actual giveaway. The next, you have at least a week. Let's just say that. Probably a couple weeks, to be honest. So the next video I'm going to do is a live, and we'll actually do some sound samples and stuff like that. But I actually have to do some more work with this thing, more media, I guess, if you will. So you got at least a couple weeks. So don't worry, there's no time crunch on it. You'll know when it's over because I'll post a video about it telling you that it's over. I'll probably also do a live to lead you up into it. So you got plenty of time to get in there, watch this video, figure it out. But don't wait too long. And don't post too many things because you only get one shot, right? More or less, you only get one shot because I'm going to take the first post that you put in there and as your answer. And if you go and you put a second one in and it's the right answer, nobody's going to know because nobody's going to know. But does that make sense? Are the rules laid out? Are they clear? Good. I hope so. So I'm going to leave it at that. That is the game for this one. You better have been paying attention. So here we go. We're going to keep on keeping on.
How much would it be to ask for a 1/4-inch piece of walnut that's actually a 1/4-inch piece of walnut? But you kind of get the idea. But yeah, and then of course the light will fit back behind there, and the vanity goes in that space. I didn't put the vanity in, but there you have it. That's kind of more or less what it's going to look like. So just kind of an update. I'm not going to be able to get any more work done for the next couple days. Maybe this weekend.
I'm going to fast forward a little bit. We already know.
A little bit, but we're going to talk about some of these other parts that are starting to show up over there.
We did that.
Finished and glued in this yet through here for the
Yep.
Wait, like a tiger. Let's see if I can actually get those holes to show up. It'd be kind of nice. There's one right there.
Boop. There it is.
You can kind of just see it's just
All right, we're going to
So the
call it
holes
on
are
this
there.
one. So
I'm not worried about that.
Moving on.
We have more progress. So we have the mirror glued into the back now. So the mirror is now permanent. The back side of this thing is all done. I have all the fitment figured out for this stuff here. This does not come out. It's got a loose fit in there because I still have to put the LEDs on the side, but this at least won't fall out on its own. And then of course we got the little bars there that'll go along the side to lock it in. But all the fitment is done in that regard. I do have to do some finishing on these to make it so it fits tight against the back of the amp. This is just a rough fit, but so I still got some polishing up to do on those. But we're getting really close. I'm probably not going to actually show you much of the work I'm going to be doing at this point anymore. I'm just going to kind of do these little blurbs and show you what's going on.
I have to only do the blurbs.
Watching me do is sand
and you definitely don't want to watch me sand and paint
anyway. So we are getting really, really close. We'll see you in the next segment. Oh my goodness. We have made a little bit of progress. I didn't include you in a bit of it. Obviously, just sanding and painting wood is kind of boring, but you can get an idea at least of what it looks like. Very, very beautiful.
You thought you were going to see me for a second, didn't you?
I like using the veneer on the inside with the mirror. It just makes it look bigger and kind of just more, I don't know, pulls it together a little bit more. It's kind of a cool thing. It's not without incident though. Let me talk about that a little bit. So this piece here, I tried gluing in with all wood glue all over the thing. I smeared the whole inside with wood glue.
It is now a real
then
show.
I put the piece in. Well, as you can imagine, it's a little bit difficult to get a piece that big with that much slippery wood glue down in there to hold still and stay where it needs to stay and make sure it stays level and doesn't float one.
So let me explain what I'm talking about a little bit more right here. So what I'm getting at is that the glue it has a thickness, right? And I don't want it to be that thick. Well, I put too much glue is basically what I'm getting at. And I don't have deep C-clamps. So I tried clamping it in there the best way I could. And even with that, it still did not set right inside of that space. It ended up canting itself a little bit. So I'll keep on with that. You kind of get it.
Like have an oddball cant. It did have a little bit of an oddball cant, so I did have to shave a little bit on these.
It kind of bummed me out.
As good as I'd hoped, but I mean that's not.
But I learned a lesson.
You can kind of see it flows pretty well, and I mean from the 10-foot view it looks great. So lesson learned: do not use that much glue on pieces that large when you're just trying to. It serves no functional purpose. That's there literally just for aesthetics. Like it literally could have just been held in with a couple dabs of super glue.
I probably, honest to God, could have just slid it in there and left it there. It wouldn't have done anything. It's not going anywhere.
That I was just making my life difficult trying to glue the whole thing in there. So a cool little trick, if you want to know, is to just take a small amount of the glue in the area that you need, the wood glue, the stuff that's actually going to hold this thing together for the life of the piece. This part is actually semi-functional because it does need to hold the amp in place.
That is the
if you
only
don't turn this
functional
thing
part,
upside down,
actually.
right?
That is what's
But
doing all
if
the
you use the
work.
glue towards the center, that actually does the real work. And then on the periphery of the piece, you put the super glue. Then when you put the piece in and push it in, the super glue sets like almost instantly, which locks
Oh
that piece
boy,
in
that
exactly
was
where you want it, which
the trick.
is nice because
So let me explain a little more what I was going on about. So you may have seen other people do it. Some people use like dabs of super glue on their wood projects in conjunction with the actual wood glue. Now the purpose behind that is when you put the piece in and then you press it down, the super glue adheres almost instantly, locking that piece into place. So you got to get it where you want it, but when you do that and you get all four corners kind of splopped into place, it's not going to move anymore, which then means that the glue just kind of smears about as it needs to and does the work that it's needing to do, of course, right? So that's what I should have done with this back piece. I did not. Kind of disappointed in myself, but I have learned a lesson and now we know. So pieces that don't require any, they're not doing anything functional, then they don't need to be slathered with 10 pounds of glue. So there's that.
then it allows the glue that's actually doing the work to smear where it needs to smear and hold how it needs to hold. Same with this side. So that's what we did over here as well. Now, let's get to, yeah, you thought you were going to see me for a second, didn't you? You were waiting for that mirror shot, weren't you? The back piece. Oh, that came out so gorgeous. I'm so happy with that. Beautiful chunk of wood. I kind of wish it was a little more figured, but I like how it kind of swoops over. And, once we do some more of the B-roll stuff on it, it'll look a lot better. But I did learn my lesson, and on this back piece, I mean, it's kind of held in anyway, so it can't really run anywhere. But, I put glue in this area and glue in this area, and then along the periphery, I put the super glue. No joke, as soon as I sat it in there, this thing was locked in place. It is not going anywhere, never to come out again. This is permanently affixed. I think that came out great. So far, everything is fitting like a glove. I do still need to do some more work on these guys. I will have to trim this back a little further, so I just got to make that cutout a little bit deeper.
I'm going to pause it right there for a second, too. That is another handmade piece. You got to imagine, I have to figure out how to fit that thing into that corner and make it fit just right. So another hand fit piece.
In order to make it fit the way it needs to fit with the rest of the stuff. So, yeah, I mean, golly, the amount of work I put into this thing. And then when you get to this point in the build where you cannot, there is no takesies backsies. One little nick in the Tolex, one nick in the piece of wood. Anything goes wrong at this point, and it's literally, this thing is
Let me add some context to that. So this isn't like a cabinet that's made in like a 2-day period or something like that. It's not like the ones you get from Marshall, etc., etc. This thing is literally has been bouncing around my shop for the last 2 months or more. Right? So imagine the amount of care you have to take to this box. You cannot nick it on anything. So anytime I move it, it's, it better be moved with purpose. All the woodwork has to be fitted after the Tolex is on there. All the metal work has to be fitted after the Tolex is on there. All that stuff has to be done while touching a finished product. That is absolutely freaking freaky. So just keep in mind, the amount of care that has gone into getting this thing where it's at, even at this point, which is not even finished yet, is really, really scary. Because at this point, if I were to nick anything, the whole project is borked.
Trash, and we're starting all the way over again. That would be ungood. So, yeah, you can just see I'm just super stoked with how this thing is coming out. It's going to be beautiful. So, here, you can see my mess, why not? So that's what that piece looks like. So you can kind of get an idea of the contrast that there's going to be. And then you can kind of see here too, it goes so well with everything. Like, it's just going to be beautiful. So
it is absolutely beautiful.
Enough of that. We'll see you in the next segment. Oh my God. We have finally made some progress on this thing. The last couple nights, it's really come together for me. Once I got the wood done, that was pretty much, really, really easy. Got it in there, that was great. A lot of the work that you see right now with like the metal pieces, the metal work around the outside, how the amp fits in there, and what I'm about to show you on the back, 100% depended on those pieces of veneer fitting to damn near an exact science. So what you have to imagine is I had to design this cabinet and account for thicknesses of Tolex and stuff like that, and all that fun stuff. Make sure that this amplifier and its thickness was going to stuff against the back mirror piece there, so there isn't an air gap, and that the pieces of walnut and veneer or whatnot would butt up flush against the face of this amp, so that these corners here can get in there nice and tight, like, while also down here and etc., while also making it so that the back can do the same. I'll show you the back now. Right? So here are those pieces I had to do. They're screwed in there, nice. The back
Those
is
came
done.
out really
So
good, by the way.
The back is completed. I do not have to take anything else apart on the back side of this amp anymore. These pieces are permanent. They never have to come out again. Just FYI. So this is it. That's what you're going to get on the back side. And of course, because we can, yep, serial number 01. You lucky mofo, you get an amp that not even I have. Let me tell you, this thing is the Ferrari of 5E3s, all right? This is your Bugatti of 5E3s.
Damn
this is
straight.
No joke. This is your McLaren. Actually, no, it's better than McLaren.
No, it's better than McLaren for sure.
It's probably better than Bugatti even. Pagani, maybe a Pagani, because Pagani's like actually handmade. Rolls Royce, this is like your Rolls Royce and Paganis or whatever right here. Like this is, everything is hand fit. Everything is hand
everything.
Mistakes and all, there are mistakes in this amp. It's not perfect.
It's close to perfect.
Little things,
close.
just little things, like getting the width right on that, just so that like I missed it by that much. It's those little things that are really hard to get it right because you want it to fit in there, and then you just that little bit. But yeah, so you can see what I mean by it's kind of a pain in the butt to get all that engineered, and it all depends on that wood veneer that goes in there to be spot the heck on.
So let me explain what I mean by engineer all this stuff. So I've never made this cabinet before, and I think I talk about it a little bit here, but this has not been made before. So I don't know how all this stuff is going to fit. So that's kind of what this was doing, was trying to think 5 steps ahead. Like if I do this and I do this and I do this, what's that going to leave me with here? The amount of math I had to do to try to get everything down. I was trying to shoot within about a 64th of an inch worth of accuracy on this thing. That was that was the goal, was to get within a 64th of an inch of accuracy on all the fitment, front and back, etc., because that would make it so it was like an actual tight fit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think you can fit a piece of paper between the front and the thing on both sides. You know what I mean? That's kind of the idea behind it. But yet it still had to go together and be absolutely as, whatever. But so I kind of got to go through all that stuff. So now that I know all that, I can at least build it a little bit quicker the next time around because I know that everything will work. So there is that, but I'll keep on. And then, of
course, the mirror in the back, which you can't really see, but toodles. It's purposely done this way so you can't see my face. Even if you really wanted to, you're not going to see my face. But, so yeah. Next, I think we're done with this for the week. I have to get started on my stuff for this weekend. Luckily, it's only Wednesday, so I've got a couple more days to do some prep work, and I have plenty of time, luckily, because of the way I do things. All that stuff's already kind of done for the most part, but I need to put the corners on, so that I'll probably actually show in video how that's being done.
No, I will not.
I know I haven't showed you a lot of what's going on here.
Actually, skip ahead
all
here.
All that little stuff, right? I stained it, and then I glued it inside of the thing.
Literally, I'm explaining what I did.
So I'll use super glue tape that I have, and that piece will get, glued
Here,
down.
let me show you what I'm talking about.
I need to put that piece in there you left on the chassis. I still need to put the shielding in the bottom there. And the other hope, and this is the last thing I need to check on, is I need to put that piece in there. So I'll use super glue tape that I have. And
killer stuff, by the way.
Glued down in the bottom of the amp there. And then this thing here should sit right on top of it. The way my chassis maker does it, he actually leaves just enough of a gap underneath that it should be able to fit underneath this amp and still have clearance. So when you go and take this thing out, you'll be able to lift it up and pull it out. Objectively, since we're on it, this is kind of like your user manual, if you will. Whoever wins this amp, just so you know.
I'm going to stop it right there because we're kind of go over it a little bit later. So I'm going to just move forward here.
Some work has been done, and I have to apologize. I put this in the other night, and I was going to try to, include it in the video where I put these in. I did do that video. I did make a video on how I did this. It is long, it is tedious, and it is not worth watching. Trust me, you don't need to watch a video on how to install nails with leather.
You don't. It was over an hour long.
What I can tell you is this. First, you got to get enough, obviously, for all the corners. So in this case, you get 8 of them. These come as a flat little triangular puck. Imagine, a puck that looks like a triangle or whatever you want to call it. You put those in warm water and let them soak for about 5 minutes at the low end, upwards of 10 if you can. And then
by the time you get to the last piece, it will have been over.
If yours don't have
10
little
minutes.
dimples to where to put the tacks or whatever you want to call them, well, you're just gonna have to imagine where it goes.
And I get my leather work from a guy.
Ooh,
this particular leather work from a guy on Etsy.
As you can see, you just kind of get it in the middle of the corner.
Brookwood doesn't know it yet, but he is going to make me my handles the way I want them to be
made. The reason you got to get these wet is to make them pliable when they.
And I'm gonna get them to make corners for me.
Very, very difficult to mold around this. Well, when they're wet, they mold pretty easily, within reason. And the reason you want to get them warm water is to help get the fabric the material to stretch a little bit. And as it stretches, it makes it a little bit easier to ply it over.
So let me explain what I mean a little bit. So Brookwood Leather, I've talked about him before. Oh goodness, excuse me, on this channel. Amazing guy. I love working with him. He's a really, really good guy. But the way he makes his handles is, I guess, honest to God, actually the best way to do it. It's the strongest and most, it's the most reliable handle to make. But the problem is that he doesn't have a large enough sliding area, I guess, if you will. Like if he made it a little bit deeper on each end, it would probably work a little bit better. So you could flatten the handle out, and then when you go to yank it up, it still curves into a nice little bow for you. But because of the way he builds it, which is technically the strongest and best way to do it, it makes it just so it doesn't lay flat. It doesn't flatten out. That's the problem that I'm having, and that's the part I want him to do otherwise for me, because I really love working with him. He does amazing work. He does not offer up corners yet. I really would love for him to make me some corners. So Brookwood, if you're watching this, please, 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 please hit me up. I will pay you extra. I do not care what the part costs. I know that it goes against probably some of your standards to make the handle the way I would love for you to make them, but I have my reasons. I have my reasons. So, and then the amp corners. The reason I want you to do both is because I want to be able to get both from you. And right now, this gentleman that I found on Etsy is the only guy I know that makes them both kind of the way I would like. And I still love working with you too. So, just saying. So, pretty please.
And then once you get it tacked in, as it dries, it'll suck down and tighten up. You can kind of see here, this isn't the best corner on the bottom, but the bottom came out pretty good for the most part. I don't know why, but you can kind of see how it's sucked in.
It's sucked in a little bit more even still since this video's been done. This was like next day right here. So after about a week, it's kind of sucked in a little bit more even.
So that's what you're trying to get it to do. And then as it dries, it will do that. Now, in some instances, you can't quite get it tight enough, and you'll have a little bit of play, like I have on this one. The tops ended up kind of having a little bit more play than I would like. I think this is the most egregious corner of them all, but as you can tell, it's not that bad from a distance. You can still shrink these corners in, and that's what I'm working on now. Basically, you get them wet with some nice warm water in the area that you want to shrink, and then you apply heat with like a low temperature heat gun, and that will cause it to shrink in a little bit. There's within reason, right? You're not going to get it to suck a ½ inch, but you might be able to get it to suck in another 1/16, maybe an 1/8 of an inch, but
I'm going to bounce forward a little bit here.
I start with the front face. It's probably best, and then you just kind of work around the end.
Yeah, start with the front. Only do 2 though. Don't do all 4 at the same time like I did. I made it more difficult for myself.
Taller, right? But you kind of get the idea. That's the handle. I am going to work the handle in, much like
So
I
I
did
still got to work
these,
the
so
handle
I'll
in.
use
I'm
some
doing that
water
as
and rub
well.
it out too once they get sucked in where I want them. And yada yada yada. Essentially, we are ready to put the amp in. I have all the pieces there fit, ready to go. The top one is, of course, in up there, and the back side, of course, is done as well. We've kind of already gone over that, but I guess that's it for now. We're gonna keep on keeping on. We'll see you in the next segment. This will be more to serve kind of like a service notice, if you will. So this amp,
If you're the winner of this amp, you're going to want to pay
put in
attention to this
upside
part.
down when you go to install it. And I'll show you kind of what I mean. Is you kind of pick it up from the middle here, and that gives you kind of the leverage you need. And I'm trying to do this with one hand, but if you just pull it out, right, it's setting on these wood pieces here, like I was talking about. And you can see there's just enough width or depth there on these parts to allow this thing to slide out without catching the metal shielding cage. The metal shielding cage will of course touch in on the ends there.
I did my math really well.
So
I'm super duper happy about that.
So that's the idea behind that. But the big challenge, as I was saying in one of my earlier segments here, was that we wanted to make it so that this thing could come out easily without having too big of a gap around the wood part, and I have successfully done enough good math to make that possible. So it just slides in. That's why I made that piece there magnetic. When you're putting it in, you get it in so far.
I'm referring to the light, by the way.
And since it's magnetic, it'll just suck itself up to the thing. And of course, it shouldn't. There's no reason why it should ever bounce off, right?
I'm going to stop right there. I'll tell you this. I was hoping it would be a little bit easier to get that piece to slide in. Not the amp. The amp slides in just fine, but to get that piece to go up and into the whatchamacallit. I had to put it far enough back to clear the LED lamp, or not the LED, but excuse me, the lamp, the pilot light. So it's back far enough that you can't quite get your fingers in there. At least my fingers aren't that long, but so that means you kind of got to finagle a little bit. If you tuck the piece up in there and get it just right, it'll kind of set there, and you'll hear it kind of clack itself up. And then as you push the amp in, it'll rotate itself around into that spot. It's a pain in the butt, but once you get it, it's done. Like it does what it's supposed to do. So that's all.
It's magnetic. But when you go to pull it out, if you happen to forget, I've already tested this. If you happen to forget, it will just knock it off, and Bob's your
yeah, it'll pull itself out no problem without damaging anything.
But that was the idea behind that, having that connection that way, was to try to make it so that this thing, despite the pain in the butt nature of having to undo those, the three pieces, the long one on the bottom there and the two sides, and then of course the feet, in order to get those out, despite that, it's not that bad to work on if you happen to need to get in there, which you're never going to have to. So there. Ha! All right, take care, guys. We'll see you in the next segment. Well, hold the presses. You know me, I can't let things slip and slide, so I did not want to provide this with this.
I'm going to stop right here for just a second, too, and explain a little bit more. I cut out a segment of video because it was just kind of more or less going over what I just did here. For those of you who are sharp-eyed, you'll notice that in one of my other videos, there was a different LED driver in this spot. It was a constant current unit, and the reason I like the constant current devices is because they are quieter. They don't inject any noise into the preamp section. Well, unfortunately, the other problem with constant current is that they don't deal with low current situations too well. So if I was powering these lights at full go, it was no problem. It didn't oscillate. But as soon as you try to dim them down with some kind of resistive element, it would cause it to flicker or oscillate. Well, that's no bueno. And even with that device that I had there, that dimmer LED, let's see if I can go back to it, that guy right there. So even with that, it would actually oscillate. It would go into oscillation if you went from anything other than full blast. So I had to switch back over to a constant voltage device. The ones that I use are quiet, but I was, I wanted to just try it the other way because the other one's a little bit smaller, a little bit nicer looking. But honest to God, the LED driver that I have in there is amazing. But I don't have to use this because I was able to use an inline resistor, which you can kind of see. It's right in this little area right in here. But so with that little inline resistor, it dims the light down from 100% down to about 20. Real show. 20 to 30% thereabouts, and it's kind of in the sweet spot. It's not so bright that it blots out when you take the camera to it, but not so dim that when it's on the stage without any kind of whatever with the lighting on the stage or whatnot, you can still see. It's not diminutive. So
I wanted that to be a set
and I didn't want to send it out with a cheap China device to control it. Like,
as you can see, I got a different driver in there now, LED driver.
Skip ahead just a little bit.
Constant voltage instead of constant. But so I had it down to the 30 or some odd % that I want it to be.
There you go. Now we're kind of in the zone.
Shut up. So there's that. So this thing is going to become a little bit easier to work with in the future. But so we've done that. This thing is now ready to go 100%. I have the.
So I don't think I showed it. I have another video that I was going to do that showed me changing out all these parts. So you can see right there, that part is that other CDM or the Cornell Doublier version that I was talking about. It's not the SM one. I had the SM one in there initially, and then of course I had that other resistor in there, the cheap metal oxide one or whatever. This one is now the real ohmite one. That was that controller I was talking about that I didn't want to use for this amp. So you're not getting a controller with this thing. It's just going to be a fixed brightness, and that's what I'm shooting for. I have another idea in the future to do the lighting. I am not going to make it so there is any kind of physical connection at all. I'm going to figure out a way to use light, like fiber optics, to get light from inside of the amp to these corner pieces up here, or to the vanity plate, and have it be edge lit still. I'm still looking for just something that's kind of muted, if you will. So I'm not looking for something that's all that bright anyway, but I want to use an incandescent bulb because it's the only way to get the right color. And then what I'll do is I'll use, fiber optic lenses and stuff like that to direct the light into a thing that I can then use to edge light a vanity plate. I'm working on that one, but that's a future rendition. Because getting that little magnetic piece to connect in there is kind of a pain in the butt, and it's just bull crap anyway. I like how it works in the chassis itself. It's great in the chassis itself, but trying to actually get it to work, in conjunction with moving the chassis in and out and stuff like that, it's just kind of a brat.
The whatchamacallits I need, everything is done. We are done. I'm going to put this thing together.
Oh, you're done. Thank God.
All right. We'll see you in the next segment. And there we have it.
Oh,
after
boy.
months and months of work, a couple 100 hours,
at least
you kind of finally get to see what it looks like complete. No, you do not get to see my face, but you can definitely see what's going on in there. Very cool, methinks. So you can kind of see what I was talking about with putting the bezel around the front side there. I think
I'm going to stop it right there. See how it's like it just glows in there like that? I don't mind it being a little bit dimmer than this. So that's what I'm going to try to do, is to create an edge lit thing. So I'll run fiber optics up in there, and then I'll get it so it can edge light this piece of plexiglass here. I don't think it'll be as bright, obviously, but it'll get the point across. That's the idea. But then I don't have to have any physical connection from the chassis to the cabinet at all. But you can kind of get an idea of the amount of work that went into making all this stuff fit together and work this way.
That side looks beautiful. Let's make it so.
Let's skip ahead here.
Not more so. It doesn't light up like the front, but you know what I mean. Now, if that's not dressed to impress, I don't know what is. So, there it is. Now to do some sound samples. But for this video, I think we're gonna call it done. I think we finally come to that point. It's gonna be at least another month before we get to do the giveaway. Just, well, tell you what, I'm not even gonna talk about it. Let's just take it in a little bit.
I knew then that it's going to take some time. That's why this contest is going to go a little longer than anticipated. Or this particular version of the game.
I think. All right, let's call it there. There it is in the dark. It's not that white.
So that's the thing about LEDs, okay? So the light down in the lower left corner there, the one that's for the pilot light, that's an incandescent bulb. It runs on 120 volts. Just by the way, you have to use a special bulb there. You cannot use a 6.3 volter, but I don't power the lighting off of the 6.3 volts. I don't want that noise flowing around in my cabinet. But you can see how on the camera that center vanity plate looks white. It's in real life, to your eyes, it doesn't look that color. It looks closer to the bulb down there in the lower left. But LEDs, when they dim, they don't change color. So whatever color temperature they're set at, 2400, 3200, whatever the Kelvin might be, they don't change color. And when you're in a situation like this, you can see that difference. And it looks like it's a white light, even though it's not. So that's what I want to. That's why I want to go to the fiber optic and use an incandescent light source in order to get it the same color as the bulb here. So what I'll use is I'll use the same style of bulb, and I'll just point it at the fiber optic lens, and that will then edge light this to somewhere hopefully around that same level of brightness, but at the same color temperature. That's the idea.
So it looks like that on here, but in real life, it's closer to the 2400K. But I also want you to know.
But it'll match on camera the
damn
same color
near
as you
full
see.
on,
Like, you know what I mean?
that's the gain all the way up. Obviously, there's another input right now, but if you had it this loud, I'd be shocked. And here's the speaker. I got it. Well, you can just hear the phone ticking away in here, the Wi-Fi in the room ticking away. This thing is dead quiet when you're, when nothing's plugged in, obviously. Once you plug a guitar in, obviously that changes everything, but so you can kind of see what the plan was with the metal around the outside. You can see how it kind of helps reflect up a little bit. So I don't know.
That was the plan behind using the metal. In the past, I've used wood, but the metal I kind of thought would help reflect the light around a little bit onto the faceplate, and it did pretty much what I thought it was going to do.
That is so freaking awesome. Awesome possum. That is the most awesomest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Okay? I'm just kidding. All right. Anyway, enough of that.
Yo, guys, I don't know what you think, but I think that's freaking awesome, okay? This is that tape I was talking about, that super glue tape, and it's literally called super glue tape by T-Rex. This stuff is freaking awesome. It's definitely not as sticky as super glue, but it's really, really thin. It comes in it's like a dual layer, so you can peel it off. It peels off pretty easily, and then you peel off this white, opaque layer, or whatever the heck you want to call it, and it leaves this really thin, super duper sticky layer on there. Now, in situations where you're using it to hold down that shielding plate, works great. Using it for the face plates to keep them attached to the chassis works great. So this is what I use. So Andy, if you're interested in wondering how I super glue things down for my face plates and some other stuff, this stuff right here is where it's at. Forget about using super glue where it fogs up when it touches other things. This is the stuff. Sorry, I'm putting it back away. All right, we're literally coming up on damn near an hour, 55 minutes at this moment in time, damn near. So I hope you were paying attention because there is a game. Just, you know what you got to do. So just be mindful. You have time. There's plenty of time. at least a month, I think, before we're actually going to do the drawing. I have the blower thing figured out. I just need to go buy the container to put all the tickets in, and I need to start filling the tickets out. More or less, I need to actually start doing some work on figuring out who has what points. And there will be some leeways and some gimmies in there as well for people that have put in extra effort. No, Team YDNA doesn't get extra points for doing the extra work. He's already got the most points so far anyway, mainly because he started off hot to begin with and was on point every time anyway. So just giving you the heads up, he may not get the... That's why I designed this last game to be the way it is, by the way. So he may not get the answer right, and you might, and that might even the score out just a little bit. So I hope you were paying attention. You have opportunities to even the score a little bit. Not that it's going to be skewed that far off anyway. So I may do a live either later tonight after I finish this video, or I might do it tomorrow. Probably not going to be tomorrow. Tomorrow for me is Sunday, and I have some, not obligations, but I'm going to go hang out with some friends that I have not gotten to see in several weeks. The gentleman that was taking care of the amp for us, the Peacemaker, for a little while. He had it for a couple months there. He went away to not Indonesia, but one of those Asian places. I can't remember, Malaysia or something like that. He went to Malaysia area to do some work, and he is back now. His birthday was not this weekend, but last weekend. But I had to do my show last weekend, so we're going to hang out tomorrow. That's all we're going to do. So that's going to burn up tomorrow. Monday is Labor Day coming up. I might do the live then. I'm kind of thinking of doing it tonight because it's still only it's not quite 7 o'clock yet. So I might do an 8 o'clock type live thing, and we'll do some actual sound samples of the Peacemaker. I'm not saying that's what it's going to be, but it could be what it is. I want to thank you guys all so much. I got through a little bit of this tonight. I'm feeling pretty good now. But just kind of some closing, I guess, words on this amp. And I guess maybe what I'll do is I'll put it on the slideshow. And I got the music down. Good. Okay. So let me tell you, this thing was a lot of work. Well over 200 hours. Not quite 300 though. But definitely over 200 hours. If I were to put a price tag on this thing, just the amount of time alone that I put into it, I mean, this thing would have to easily be a $5,000 amp. Even if it doesn't sound like a $5,000 amp, just the amount of work that went into it. I know that you might not value it that much, but it has about $1,500 thereabouts worth of parts into it. The handles and the corners were about $90, $100 after shipping and fun stuff like that. The transformers, rounded out, they're about $100 a piece. The chassis itself was about $100. All the wood, I'm not even going to factor in the wood that I destroyed, but, it took two $40 chunks of wood, more or less. And then just all the little parts, we kind of gone over all that fun stuff. So you can just see how it adds up really quick. The face plates, I mean, I got lucky. The face plates I was able to get done on the first shot, but, it's not cheap to do this stuff at this level by yourself with your own dollar. I will tell you right now that if you are into building your own amps and you just want to build an amp and you're not worried about the cabinetry, kind of going back to just the lessons, if you will, but, forget about me. Forget about me and trying to sell you anything. So what I'm getting at is that if you're going to build this kind of stuff on your own and you don't really care about the cabinetry, just buy what's available on eBay, Mojo Tone, or some other place. Just find that, spend the $350, and you're done, right? I mean, you can get it for probably less than $400 to your door, at least. Because this cabinet alone, I think would probably have to sell for at least $1,500 to $2,000, just to even take care of the time and the materials for it. Forget about the amp itself. So that's kind of why I think that, literally doing these kit builds and people just buying the parts themselves and building their own amps is going to kind of start to take off here pretty soon. I kind of feel like BAD is going to start taking a hit here pretty soon because most of their products are coming from overseas. And most of a lot of that stuff is being done at least in some facet or another overseas. They might actually be built here in the USA. They might actually be completed here in the USA, but that doesn't say a whole lot. For a product to say that it was made in the USA, it only has to be done like 50% or something like that. And they may have even relaxed it a little bit more, but I think it's only like 50% of the work has to be done here. So there's not much to say that it's made in the USA. I can tell you this, everything here is made in the USA. All the parts that I can possibly get, I've gotten from either the USA or Canada at the very least. The Transformers, of course, are Canadian. The Etsy guy that I bought the leather corners and the handle from is American. I did some stuff with Send Cut Send. The place that I bought all the aluminum was American, etc., etc. So things like that. Obviously, to make it at this level, it's not something you just go out and do. If you are a better craftsman than me, obviously you can do a hell of a lot better job than I did. I'd like to think I do a fair, good job, but I know I'm not the best craftsman on the planet. Probably not the best amp builder on the planet, but as a whole, I kind of think this product speaks for itself. So in the future, I kind of feel like BAD and some of these other places that are under these conglomerates, they're going to end up taking a hit to the degree where it's going to be challenging for them. It's not tenable in the long term. And then, of course, we're getting to that point now, too, where the originators or the progenitors or the progenies of these names that are retiring and or starting to pass away, dare I say. And, once they're gone, that namesake kind of goes with it, I think. And that, I think, is part of why I want to push a new generation of builders out there in hopes that, the next gen is going to come along and really take it and run. I don't feel that I'm that guy, but it doesn't matter. I just hope that I can help the next guy take that lead and, give him the reins and run with it. So this is to more or less inspire you, I hope. So I don't care if you buy anything from me or not. This stuff will eventually be for sale. And for those of you who want to acquire it, you can certainly talk to me about acquiring this particular product here. I have several designs that are getting ready to hit this level of, completion. And they are coming up pretty short order. I need to turn into a wood shop and do more cabinetry. The amps themselves are done, but the cabinetry is not. But more or less, this is kind of the standard that I'm shooting to go for right now. This basic level of fit and finish right here is essentially what I'm looking to do with all of my, current run-ups. So this just gives you kind of an idea of what's about to come. Outside of that, I finally actually started doing monetization of my videos. I didn't realize that you kind of actually had to hit a button to do that. Oops, I don't know, whatever, no biggie. Never about the money anyway. So I did finally start doing that. And I've made a whole $2 in the last few days. So wow. Short Circuit was actually the first one to give me my first $1. So thank you to Short Circuit for that. It was just like one of those things where I don't know. Like, you don't know unless you're actually looking for something, I guess. And I wasn't necessarily looking for anything. I'm not looking for anything, just FYI. There's more to this than just selling something and trying to impress you and woo you with something. There's more to it than that. So just thank you all for sticking with me as long as you have, and let's just keep making progress and keep doing things, and we'll see you in the next one. So take care and goodbye.